Clause 9.1.1 specify the need for carrying out measurement, monitoring, analysis, and performance evaluation. Keeping in view the requirements of ISO 45001 and the intended outcomes of OHS management system, the organization shall determine what needs to be measured or monitored. For example, compliance with the legal and other requirements, risk assessment process effectiveness, OHS objectives, training effectiveness, effectiveness of emergency response procedure. The organization must also specify the method and frequency of measurement and monitoring, and what criteria shall be used and when the results shall be analyzed and evaluated to check the effectiveness of OHS management system, that is, what we achieved and what we were supposed to achieve, that is, intended outcome of OHS management system. The measurement equipment, if used as part of the OHS management system, shall need to be suitably calibrated, and records of calibration shall be kept by the organization. The organization shall retain the documented information as evidence of measurement, monitoring, analysis, and evaluation as well. What type of measuring equipment can be used as part of the OHS management system? Give two examples. Pause this slide and think of the examples before I explain. Example 1 could be the pressure gauge installed on boilers or compressor. Example 2 could be measuring the weight of a load which needs to be manually handled to manage the risks of MSDs. What is calibration and what is its significance for the OHS performance of the organization? Pause this slide and think of the answer before I explain. Calibration is the process of comparing an instrument or device against a standard or reference to determine the accuracy of the subject item. Calibration is significant for the OHS performance of the organization because it helps to ensure that the equipment and instrument used in the workplace are functioning correctly and accurately. Consider an example of a pressure relief valve installed on a boiler. It is supposed to operate, for example, at 100 psi. But imagine if it is not calibrated and it does not operate and relieve pressure at 100 psi, then the pressure inside the boiler will keep on increasing and the boiler may explode. Clause 9.1.2 requires that the organization shall measure and monitor the extent to which the legal requirements are being complied. For doing so, the organization must specify the frequency and methods for the evaluation of compliance, including the arrangements to maintain the knowledge and understanding of the compliance status. The organization shall retain the documented information regarding the evaluation of compliance. Briefly list the step-by-step process the organization may use in order to meet its compliance obligations. Pause this slide and think of the answer before I explain. The process for the compliance obligation shall go usually as follows. The first step is to identify the applicable legal requirements on a regular basis. Step 2 is to communicate these requirements internally so the relevant function understand what is expected from them. Step 3 is the deployment of control measures subsequent to the risk assessment in order to meet the legal requirements. Step 4 is to review the effectiveness of control measures and the effectiveness of step 1 and 2. Step 5 is to continually improve the whole process. Clause 9.2.1 requires that the organization shall conduct the internal audits at planned intervals to meet the conformity of OHS management system with the ISO 45001 and any other additional criteria they may have established, and to assess if the OHS management system is effectively implemented and maintained. Clause 9.2.2 requires that the organization shall establish, implement, and maintain an audit program that shall include internal as well as external audits. The details of the audit programs have already been discussed in element 2. Clause 9.3 requires that the top management shall carry out a review of the OHS management system to check if it is suitable as per the organizational context, adequate in terms of its resources, and effective in achieving its intended outcomes. The top management shall consider the management system performance, for example, incidents and non-conformity data, internal audit results, the effectiveness of OHS policy and objectives for OHS management system, view of interested parties, legal compliance status, the effectiveness of working with the contractors, outsourcing impacts on OHS, and much more. The review output decision may include changes in OHS management system, allocating more resources for OHS management system, operational process changes, organizational structure changes, or any other changes to ensure the OHS management system intended outcomes are achieved. The organization needs to retain the documented information regarding the management review decision. These also shall be communicated to all the stakeholders. How the management review process is different from the performance evaluation in the OHS management system context. Pause this slide and think of this answer before I explain. The management review process is completely different than the performance evaluation process. Performance evaluation is the third step of Plan, Do, Check, Act, that is PDCA, which means measuring the effectiveness or efficiency. But what to do with the measuring results? Suppose measuring results shows some data, but how to analyze if the performance is excellent, good, average, below average, or poor, and what are the reasons for the specific performance levels. The management review process is responsible for these steps and it will decide what can be done to improve the performance. Sometimes it requires a complete revamp of OHS management system. In simple words, management review is the brain of the PDCA model, which makes adjustments in the input to achieve desired results. It's like a driver who is pushing the accelerator, and when it's a downward slope, the driver pulls the foot from the accelerator and adjusts the foot position as per the requirements while watching the speedometer. In this example, the speedometer is showing the speed, that is performance, while the driver is taking